Okay, welcome back. We have completed the tops as far as cutting them to length and the 45s go, and now we're going to switch gears to work on the skirts for a little bit. So we're going to need our skirt handout, we're going to need a tape measure, a ruler, and a pencil, and then we'll also be heading to the drill presses in a little bit. So we're going to be doing some more counter bored holes on the bottoms of our skirts, similar to the step stool. We're going to have counter bored holes come up through the bottom and attach our top. So a lot of this should seem pretty familiar with from the step stool project. So when we look at our sheet, we notice that the outside ones are going to be 4 inches in from the outside. So we'll first just make a mark 4, 4, and then they'll be on center. So 1/2 3/4 is 3/8. So that is going to be where I'm going to drill. And 3/8. There we go. And then the middle is going to be 17. Now remember, this is all for the long. The shorts are listed down here. Now they show you 4. The shorts are only going to have 2. So just the 4 on the outside, 4 on the outside. The middle one you skip on the short one because you don't really need it. So we'll do the 17. Again, these are just holes to attach the top. So as far as if they were off by 1/16 here or there, that part's not critical. We do want to make sure we drill straight down, so when we come out through the other side, it goes straight out, because with it being a much deeper hole for the through hole, it's going to have a greater chance of, any slight angle is going to be worse than the step stool because you got a lot more distance to travel. So those are those 3 points. Now, as far as the depth goes, let's see here. We'll look at this figure. Now this is referring to both the short and the long, so that's why you get the 2 arrows. The 3/16 through, so that should ring a bell. That was the same diameter. And then the counter bore is 3/8, which is the larger diameter. So that the counter bore is the bigger one. So that being bigger than 3/16, that's good. Its depth is 1 inch and 5/8. Now, if you remember well from the step stool, that depth was only 5/8. So this is 1 inch and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. Okay, and to make sure I'm measuring this way and not that way, because just a single line, when you're so close to center, it could easily get screwed up. I'm going to do that. Okay, so those are going to be where my through holes are, and then that's going to be where I set my depth stop too. So through the magic of television, we already have our setup over here ready to go on our other long skirt. Okay, now you'll notice I have the clamp from over there. I'm going to need you to clamp for this through hole, for this long one. Okay, what happens is with that deep of a hole, the chips get clogged up in this flute really easily. And then what happens is when we pull up to clear the chips, let the chips come out of the hole, the part ends up coming up with it. And then when you're holding over here and the part comes up, it's inevitably going to make the part crooked, and that bends the bit. So I don't know if this one's a little bit bent from my last section, but yeah, you can see a little bit of a shake to that. So we're going to try to prevent that by clamping it down. So just make sure you reach in far enough, make sure it's still flat on the table. I'm not sure if my camera angle is going to do this any justice, but make sure you grab a flat spot underneath here. And if you're unsure about it, if you need to ask me a question, go ahead. But for this one, when we do our counter bore, we'll do that second over there. So we're going to do the through hole first, and then we'll counter bore with a 3/8 drill bit second. We're not going to use those Forstner bits like we used in basic. We don't have any shallow counter bores to do. So that wobble will go away once you come in contact with your wood. See that? So okay, well, once you feel the bit start getting some resistance, you're going to want to stop, clear the chips. Clearing the chips and having the bit out also helps the bit cool so it doesn't get too hot. Okay, so I had my depth stop already set to go into this board but not into the table. Okay, so okay. So you guys would keep going. You would drill that hole, spin it around, drill that hole, clamping it down each time. But for the sake of time, we're just gonna move on. And as you can see, we clamped it square, everything was straight up and down. That came out pretty much on center. So we definitely weren't crooked at all. That's good. Perks of using the clamp. Okay, for this one, you don't have to use the clamp. It's gonna chase the existing hole and we're not going nearly as deep. But as you can see, my 1.5", I made a mark. Hopefully my camera angle can show you that. We have it set so the depth stop stops right at 1.5", about where the point is a good spot. Okay, and now, as I said, you would already have those holes drilled, but still put pressure over here on that edge of the fence. Center everything. It will want to chase the holes, so it'll center itself, but all right. So you would keep going. You'd get all of these done. You do your shorts, your short skirts as well. You know, really important. I mean, that depth is greater than half, so we got to make sure when we put this together, we assemble things really correctly because we can't cheat. We had the step stools where you drilled that one too shallow and we made a mistake. We could still drill the other side and get away with it. This one we cannot get away with it. So, all right. So in the next video, we'll have all those counter bore holes done, and then we'll be ready to move on to this tool over here, and we'll make our angled pocket holes using a Craig jig.